Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I'm going to be making two space themed penny slider cards, and I'll show you two different ways of creating a penny slider. But first I'm going to start off with a little bit of coloring. So these are images from Woodware the Space Cadet stamp set, and I'm pretty sure I got this on the clearance section of the White Rose Crafts website. So check it out. It's on super duper clearance. So a really especially for the size of this stamp set, it's a fantastic price, and all of these little space characters are really cute. We've got two aliens, a couple of different, like a spaceship with an alien inside for a third alien, this sort of rocket ship, and then you've got some, I guess, celestial bodies. So you've got your moon, crater, sort of your planet surface, an entire planet with its rings and orbiting other planets or something besides, and then even some little stars. I did not stamp or use the astronaut, which I think is super cute. It's just that he's large, a little bit too large to be floating around on the penny slider. So that's the main reason why I didn't use him, but he's also pretty adorable as well. What I'm coloring with are, these are relatively new to me, so I recently picked up some Ohuhu water-based markers. Now these are called, I believe, they're aqua natural brush markers, so they do have a real brush as opposed to sort of your kind of your brush nibs where it's in the shape of a brush, but it's sort of like solid. These actually have bristles. You can get a pretty fine tip on them, and they're really fantastic. I mean, you can do blending and coloring just as if you were coloring with alcohol-based markers, but you can also do what I'm doing here, just scribble some onto a block or a craft mat and use a water brush to sort of dilute the color a little bit and have it be a little bit more translucent. And I'm coloring just onto regular cardstock. So this isn't watercolor paper or even mixed media paper or anything like that. So I'm trying to be very careful about the amount of water I'm using so that my paper doesn't start to buckle too much or worse yet, start to pill. Now, if you're using the straight marker, I don't think that's, much of an issue. It's more if you're going to use a water brush and dilute the marker down a little bit. So that where you have to be a little bit more careful if you're just using cardstock like I am. So I'm generally not super great at making galaxy backgrounds, so I have a paper pad from Scrapberry. This one's called Far Off Worlds, and there are several space-themed papers that aren't all galaxy-like backgrounds, so I picked a couple that are so that I can just quickly have a background and a little setting for all of my little space characters. And in this first card, I'm using the Lawn Fawn Maze die. So this will straight away cut your penny slider path for you. And there are several different penny slider dies out there that you can get, which have different I guess shapes or different paths that your penny can travel. For these two cards I'm actually using dimes, and the reason is that dimes aren't quite as thick And this way, I only really need to use one layer of foam as opposed to doubling up and stacking two. And I get plenty of clearance for that dime to travel, because you don't want to have the foam too thin, because then the paper that is sort of sandwiching that dime in place, it's going to sort of pinch down on the dime and it's not going to let it move. So you need your foam to be thicker than your penny or your dime, whatever it is you're using. But you do want to use something with some weight to it. You don't want to just use plain cardstock, because it's the weight that's going to really make that that whatever you put on top of the penny or the dime in my case, it's going to make it move and travel a lot better. And so I'm going to put my paper right back on top, the same paper that I cut out of. So it looks very seamless, because I cut the maze out of that background paper, which you can always make up your own background too if you're really good at galaxy backgrounds. But I found even though the stamp images are a little bit cartoony and the background looks a little bit more realistic, I still think it works. And so I don't mind that they're not necessarily in the same style. But the by inlaying the path and adhering that straight to the card base, but lifting up the top panel, I've created a little channel here, a little path for my spaceship to travel. So he can go from planet to planet, and then he can visit his other alien friends as well. And the fun thing about penny sliders is that, they will travel along that path, but they'll also rotate and spin around too. So really fun. I love the maze die because you can really add a lot of little locations and make it kind of fun and a little bit of a challenge even to get the whatever object you're using on top of the spinner to get it to go where you want. So you can make it like a maze where the goal is to have a starting point and an ending point. So I thought that one was pretty fun to use. But if you don't have a penny slider die that will cut out that channel, you can also use nested shape dies. So here I'm going to use 2 circle dies. Now I have a set of nested circle dies that are I got them from Craft Stash, but I think the brand is Creative Crafts maybe. Fantastic money for value for money, sorry, because you get a lot, and the largest die goes up to an 8x8. So I'm actually, there's so many nested dies that I'm actually picking 2 that are like one apart from one another. So I actually have a circle die that's actually in between that frame that I just adhered down. And then I went 2 steps down to die cut my foam. So that's the inner circle here. So just like before, whatever the path is that you want your object to travel, if you're using that same path and inlaying it back into your card for that seamless background look, then you want that to adhere straight to your card base. And then everything else around it needs to be popped up on some foam. And so that's why that inner circle needs to be raised with some foam. And then the rest of the card front, which is what I'm working on here, this is the back side. And these papers are gorgeous. They are double-sided and you get 2 sheets of each design. But this needs to be lifted on foam as well, so that basically that path where, in this case, I'll be using the rocket ship, where the rocket ship is going to travel, that circle, that needs to be recessed and have enough room for our whatever coin you're going to use. So there's a lot of different options. I think some companies even create plastic discs if you don't want to use a coin. But you can really use anything you have. Pennies are convenient and inexpensive, but you can always use a dime like I am. Nickels are even thicker than pennies, so I don't know that you would want to use them. Plus they're wider. So that's the other thing. You want to make sure that whatever the path is that you're cutting, that it is whatever disc you're using, whether it's a penny, a dime, or plastic disc, that disc needs to be wider than the slider path. That way it stays kind of contained by the paper that is surrounding it, that is on top of it. So that's how you would sort of choose, if you're using your own nested shape dies, that's how you choose which two, sizes to use, because you don't want to go, for example, with my dime as you're seeing it here, you can see that the channel that I've left there, it's more narrow than the entire width of the dime. And that's how I know that I don't want to choose two circle dies that are so different that the gap in between them is going to be wider than the width of my dime. And that's really the only trick to it. And then, of course, making sure that you use foam that's thick enough. And then I did stamp the sentiment on the inside. So the happy birthday came from another stamp set that I picked up. Also, I believe, from the clearance section of White Rose Crafts. And then the Hope Your Day is Out of This World is from the Space Cadet stamp set. I didn't want to put the sentiment on the outside because I think, on this card in particular, there just really isn't room for it. And but in general, I didn't want to, because I feel like so much of this is part of that fun of playing with the slider interaction and moving, that spaceship around, that I feel like the sentiment is just going to take away a little bit from that. And I know sometimes it looks a little bit strange, especially on this one, because there is room to put a sentiment on the bottom there. And maybe if I were to make this again, maybe I would white heat emboss the sentiment, I hope your day is out of this world. But I really just love the pattern paper. I didn't want to cover it up. I hope that you enjoyed these cards today, and if you did, please consider leaving me a like, comment, and sharing this video. And if you want to catch new videos as I post them, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing the notification bell. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.